laying on my notes? Are you making it hard for me to work?
Hello and welcome to my channel. As I've stated before, this channel is a variety channel, so I cover a number of topics that interest me or that I'm inspired to make, despite the fact that this is going to probably be the third cat video this year. This is not a cat content channel. Today, I'm back with Boston, and we are going to talk to you about ringworm, because Boston gave me ringworm. Despite the fact that Boston, my recently acquired stray kitten, had a negative ringworm test at her first vet visit, it turns out she had it. So I've had to take a crash course in learning all about it, how to treat it, how to prevent it, and so much more. And I'm here today to share that information with you. First of all, if you've gotten a case of ringworm in your house among your kids or your pets, don't panic, stay calm, and just follow some basic procedures. It is treatable, it's just a lot of work. If you're here because you're interested in what ringworm is, welcome. Hopefully you find some of this information helpful or interesting. So let's do it.
Are you gonna be not helpful today? Are you gonna be not helpful? Boston, if you recognize Boston from the last video, she's the stray that I found in my backyard at the end of July. Due to her multiple parasites and her extensive ringworm treatment, she is still with me. At the end of this video, I'll be talking about what's in the future for little Miss Boston. But for now, we're gonna talk about ringworm. Like I said, don't panic. Everybody, if you go onto Reddit, there's a lot of panic on Reddit. Don't panic. First of all, ringworm is not a worm. It's a tenacious fungus that can infect you and your pets. You can get it, and your pets can get it, and you can all give it to each other. Ringworm. So despite the fact that she tested negative, I ended up getting lesions on my legs a couple weeks after I'd had her. It was really itchy and uncomfortable, and because I do a lot of work with the public, I decided that I would go and get them checked at a walk-in clinic. That was not a great experience, even though I had mentioned that I had a new kitten. They didn't do a ringworm test. He just basically looked at my lesions with a flashlight, told me to get an over-the-counter antifungal, and gave me a steroid. And right off the bat, I'm gonna tell you, a steroid will make ringworm worse. So be very careful if you think you have ringworm. If you go to a doctor, make sure that they're actually doing the test before they give you a steroid, because it could get out of hand. Now, having said that, after that experience, even though I didn't know I had ringworm yet at that point, I decided to make another appointment to take Boston in. And they did 2 tests, and before I even left the facility, they told me that one of the tests was already testing positive for fungus, which led me to wonder why it didn't do it the first time, but it doesn't matter. Now we had the answer. The type of ringworm that she tested positive for was 2 types. Trichophyton and Alternaria. The Trichophyton is a Tinea infection. It is the one that's responsible for athlete's foot and jock itch and nail fungus and scalp ringworm, and then of course the body ringworm. But 98% of cat ringworm infections are actually caused by a fungus called Microsporum canis. Can you not just eat me all the time? So that was her first one. Her second one is the Alternaria or Alternaria, and that one is an environmental plant fungus, the one that's responsible for things like hay fever and asthma. There is no treatment for it. They didn't give me a lot of information about that one, but I'm pretty sure that she acquired it from my tomato plants. Where I found her was beneath my tomato and pepper bench. And my leaves on my tomato plants had a fungus infection. So because she spent 4 nights under there, approximately, I'm guessing that that's where she got that environmental fungus from. So she gave it to me, and then unfortunately, I gave it to Baxter, my precious Baxter, my house cat. The other 3 so far, knock on wood, there's wood down here, have not caught it yet, and hopefully they won't. They're all on medications, fairly unsuccessfully, but they are taking some medications, so hopefully that will prevent it from spreading throughout the house. So today we're just gonna be focusing on the first one, the big one, Trichophyton. Are you just gonna keep doing that?
kitten energy. Trichophyton is a skin fungus. Now it's important to remember that a skin fungus is not the same as a respiratory fungus or a like a yeast fungus or anything like that. Anyway, so what it looks like on cats is circular areas of hair loss or broken hair, redness, scaling, and crusts. Do you want to play with my hair? They are on the cat's face and the tail and the ear tips and the feet. Hers were all on her top of her head, on her ears. For humans, it started us off with small, itchy, solid bumps, large bumps with open sores, irregular shaped rash, scaly gray patches on the skin, and then dandruff. That can also be what it looks like on your cats, but that's kind of what it looked like on my legs. To start with, it started off as just a small itchy spot, and then it grew into a round circle. If a cat gets ringworm in its claws, it can result in flaking and peeling of the nail. It can cause them to be whitish in color, be pitted and scaly, and become deformed. Those are all kind of things that you want to look for, especially if you've just found a kitten. And I'm gonna say, if you find a kitten, don't pick it up with your bare hands. Put on a pair of some sort of gloves and make sure you put it away from other pets. And I've mentioned this in the previous video on what to do to find a kitten, but it's become very much more obvious to me why you definitely would want to put on a pair of gloves. You don't want ringworm. Trust me, you do not want ringworm. In addition to, you don't know if they have rabies or something. So if a kitten bites you, you don't want to get rabies. So where it comes from other people and other animals, first of all. It also comes from contact sports such as wrestling. Ringworm is very common among children. As a matter of fact, other than very briefly when I got my twin kittens from Kitty Bungalow, they had a ringworm outbreak just as I was taking them out. So they sent me home with some shampoo. They ultimately never got the ringworm, but there was a huge outbreak and they were having to separate the cats. And a ringworm in a shelter sounds like a nightmare to me, both from the having to clean perspective, but then also the cost of all the medication. But previous to that, I don't even think I even had heard of ringworm since I was a kid in the 80s and 90s. But it is common with children and athletes. Other places that you can acquire it is in communal bath areas or locker rooms. You can be more susceptible if you have like poor hygiene, if you're in a warm climate, if the environmental conditions are perfect. Freshly shaved, abraded, or scratched skin is especially susceptible to the infection because it gives the fungus a perfect environment in which to thrive. If you're malnourished or immunocompromised by disease or medicine, you're also very susceptible to it. Kittens and cats with compromised immune systems are also more susceptible to catching ringworm. And so again, where it lives, where it's warm and damp and has inadequate airflow, which is why it's important in your environment to have windows open and have good airflow wherever your cats and you are. The worst part is that dormant ringworm spores can live up to 18 months in their environment. They can attach themselves and live for that long to combs, carriers, brushes, food bowls, furniture, bedding, carpeting, heating vents, furnace filters, and other surfaces, just waiting for later to infect you and your cat. This is why it's very important to decontaminate your house, and I'll get to that in just a bit. So for diagnosis, like I said, I don't know what tests they took when she was in the first time. It wasn't my regular vet, and so I'm not familiar with what they're doing over there, but she did get a false negative when I took her back. I hadn't even left the building, and they told me that she tested positive for one of the funguses. The first test for diagnosis should always be a PCR DNA test. It helps identify the specific fungus that your pet may be infected with, but it's not recommended to use as a test for follow-up appointments because the DNA of the fungus will cause it to be positive even if your cat is no longer infected with it. The follow-up appointments
will include skin cultures or scrapings that will be viewed under a microscope. And according to one of my vets, this is the gold standard of tests. Another way that they diagnose, which none of my vets have used yet, but I have been using to monitor my environment, is a UV blacklight. The most common ones is called a woods lamp. Ringworm fungus, specifically this type, under UV light glows up bright green, like a fluorescent green, from like an apple green to a chartreuse. It will light up under light, and that's how I discovered that Baxter had his infection, because I had this little, because I had gotten this little black light flashlight to monitor her skin condition. And I was just sitting next to him one day, and I looked at his ear and I thought it looked kind of funny. And I was like, I better check. And sure enough, just lit up bright green right along the inside of his ear line. So I immediately took the foam that had been prescribed to her and started treating it. And I'm happy to report, I think it's been a week and a half or 2 weeks, and now it doesn't light up anymore and it seems to be healing. Not all fungus spores will fluoresce under the black light, but this specific one will. And actually only infected spores will light up. So dormant spores are unlikely to light up, which is a little scary, but what makes it important to monitor your house daily, which I do with a UV light, so that the minute I see an active spore, I can eliminate it. And it usually shows up 5 to 18 days post-infection. The nice thing about the UV blacklight is it also can be used for diagnosing other skin infections, but don't let yourself go crazy with it. This is what one of the lights looks like. I have a larger one on order that's gonna be able to search more of my environment at one time than just this little one, but this little one is really good for using on your skin. I still have some glowing spores. So what to expect? So it should take 1 to 3 weeks for the lesions to subside, but your cat is still contagious within that time. So it's very important to note, you have to keep them away from your other cats. Humans are contagious if untreated until the rash disappears, which can be from 3 weeks to a month. Oh, aren't you cute? Get that down, get that down, get that down. If your job involves skin-to-skin contact with other people, I would probably take some time off so that you don't infect other people. It will take the rash a while to disappear. I mean, I've been treating for about, I think, 3 weeks now, and I can still see the areas where I had my lesions. For pets, if you treat it aggressively, they are contagious for up to 3 weeks, and that is if you treat it aggressively. And I came across the word treated aggressively in a number of the documents that I read about this. I probably am not treating as aggressively as I can, but that's a whole other story. And then of course, here's the picture of what the top of her head looked like when it was starting to heal. And it looked gross. I sent it to the vet, and just what I thought is that the infection and the damaged skin has to slough off so it can be replaced by new skin. And they said that it looked great. So she's almost completely healed now. Do you want to show them the top of your head? Or are you being good and I should just leave you there? Okay. But once you've got it in your house, there are a lot of things you have to do to prevent the spread. Environmental decontamination. So first you're gonna want a bleach mix of 1 part bleach to 10 parts water. And then when you use it, you wanna keep the surface wet for 10 minutes. And this is allegedly 80% effective at eliminating the virus. For your floors, you might want to use an electrostatic swifter. You want to vacuum and steam clean your carpets. Of course, the vac bags should be discarded. And if you have one of those that don't have a bag, then you'll probably want to take it outside away from your house to empty it into another bag, tie it up tight and throw it in the trash, because you don't want those spores getting back out into the environment after you've gotten them contained in that bag. Temperatures of 110 degrees Fahrenheit or more will kill the spores. A hot setting on a washing machine, for instance, or a dryer can achieve this. However, because I've been able to monitor
with this black light, I have noticed a couple small active spores still on things coming out of the dryer. So maybe mine isn't getting hot enough. So you want to make sure that your dryer or washer is getting hot enough. I took some of it and I put it in my little greenhouse out here because I know that it gets well over 110 degrees in the summer, and I didn't have anything in there at the time. So I threw like the cat tower in there and stuff so that it just keeps getting like a really hot temperatures thrown at it. The other thing I did was I have my winter vehicle, which is a larger vehicle because I live where it snows. I put things in the back of that vehicle because it's black and it'll get really hot. So I'm using my greenhouse in my vehicle to kill the fungus spores on a number of the things. Another thing that will kill the fungus spore is UV light. So what I did is I took a tarp, put all the cat toys, which there were a lot of, just out on the tarp. And you leave that out there for like 8 to 12 hours, and that is also supposed to kill the spores. And then I took them and put them into a vehicle for further heat treatment. So that's probably a little easier if you have a backyard. If you don't have a backyard or a vehicle to put things in, I would go ahead and try to use high heat and bleach to clean things. Other things you want to do while there's active spores in your house is you want to wash your bedding every day. You want to use a new towel every day, especially if you have your own ringworm on yourself. Use a new towel every day, change your clothes every day. Open windows to encourage airflow. And again, once the infection is in the house, you have to clean everything that your cats and you come in contact with. So be prepared, it is a lot of work. Don't let it overwhelm you. Find some good podcasts and just go to town with cleaning, because you have to get it out of your environment or you will keep reinfecting yourself and your cats. Because after every reinfection, that's 18 more months that there could be spores in your house just waiting to reinfect. Other things to do is confine your cats to one room, which is unrealistic. If you have multiple cats, you'll understand the various reasons why. Some of the people in Reddit threads that I read were using their bathroom to confine, and that was like if they had one kitten or whatever. But if you have multiple cats, you're supposed to separate all the cats from each other, which is almost impossible. And then with your cats, you should give them all a bath with an antifungal medication. I think I took hers into the house, so I don't have an example. But every medicine and product that I'm talking about today, I'll put in the description below, and then also on my website where I put my resources for my videos. None of them will be affiliated links. My account is definitely not large enough to sustain the requirements to keep an Amazon affiliation account open. Other things to do: wash your hands frequently, because the spores can get on your hands and then you can get it all over on your cats, on other surfaces. So always be washing your hands. It's important, if you have the infection, to keep it covered but not tightly. You want to have like loose clothing that covers it up so that you don't spread it to other people. Do not cover your lesions with a Band-Aid, because it'll keep it warm and it'll just make the fungus so happy. I only covered mine up once when I first took her to the vet because I didn't want to like get spores all over the vet, but then I took it off immediately. And I actually think even that little bit has caused it to take a lot longer to heal. How could you not do that, please, please? If you end up with ringworm, go to your doctor right away and get treatment. I think I mentioned before, I had a very bad experience with that. So some of the products that I purchased, for handling her once I realized she was infectious: PPE, personal protection equipment, and all that includes booties that you put over your feet or your shoes, like a paper outfit that's used like when people are working with mold in houses and things like that, gloves that people with psoriasis use, and then of course the UV black lights so that I can make sure that I don't have any of the spores on me before I go back into the house, and then also use to monitor. Links to all that stuff, including medications, which I'll be talking about later, like I said, are going to be linked in the description below and on my website. Okay, so how to treat it. First, I'll tell you about treating the cat, and then I'll tell you about treating yourself. So for treating the cat,
There's medicated topicals that you can get from your vet. There's a shampoo if your cat is willing to take a bath, which I don't know many that are. There is foam, which I have used. When I first found out that she had ringworm, I brought her home and gave her the bath with the soap, but then I just used the foam. And for Baxter, I immediately started using the foam, and it works great if you keep applying it. So you can probably get some antifungal shampoo online if you don't have the money to go to a vet, because I'm gonna tell you, the vet appointments get expensive. If you get your medications from the vet, just know you can get them cheaper somewhere else. One of the medications that they gave me to treat my indoor cats, for 4 cats for a series of treatments, was over $500. And they were charging me upwards of $40 more than I could get the same medication for on Chewy prescription, which Chewy is, if you're not familiar with, is a big pet supply store online that has a prescription department. You will need a prescription from your vet for those, but I think you can probably get some over-the-counter antifungal shampoos. But they have to have these active ingredients in them: ketoconazole, selenium sulfide, and pyritheon zinc. And yes, I butchered them, and that's why I put the words on the screen. I don't know how to say these words. In addition to the foam, Boston got a medication that she had to take every day for a month. This coming Friday is her last day, so that's cool. And then the oral medication that my indoor cats got was a different medication. It was a liquid, because my cats don't want to take medication ever, and so liquid is better than pill. As I'm sure you're aware, giving a cat a pill, not super easy at all. So with aggressive treatment, your pet should only be infectious for about 3 weeks. It will take 2 consecutive negative tests to confirm that they have cleared the fungus, and they're supposed to be a month apart. My normal vet said that she needed 3 consecutive visits. So just know it's going to take a long time, but like, it should be over within 5 months. You are hurting me. You're hurting me. No. 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 Okay, so let's talk about treating ringworm in humans. You should be okay with just a topical cream. If it's very bad infection or you're immune compromised or something like that, you may need an oral medication. It'll be up to your doctor. The most important thing is, though, do not let them give you a steroid. From everything that I've researched, it can make your infection worse. There are a number of medications. There's Lamisol, Lotrimin, and Tinactin. I'm gonna put a list of all the things up here on the screen for you to look at. These are all the antifungal cream information I could find with the active ingredients in them. The 2 that I'm using are the 1% clotrimazole and the 1% tolfentate. I decided to use 2 different ones just based on some of the reading I did, but you obviously make your own decision. If you get the off-brand versions at Amazon, you will pay a fraction of the price. So just keep that in mind. Links in the description again. Another product I used was a special soap called Battle Bar or Battle Skin. It's a tea tree soap. It's an antifungal soap. It is more of a homeopathic sort of treatment. Tea tree oil is naturally like antibacterial, antifungal. It'll make your skin a less desirable environment for fungus and bacteria. One method of treatment I heard of from a couple people on Blue Sky, but then also was confirmed by the vet that I took her to the first time, is that iodine is an effective treatment for ringworm, and then also sunshine. So if you have ringworm, go lay in the sun, I guess, but be careful because UV rays are cancerous. But like, if you can't afford any other treatments, I would say it's probably worth the risk. Iodine, some people have a negative skin reaction to iodine. Those are like the 2 most natural ways if you look for a more natural way to cure your ringworm infection. I think that's all the information I'll have for you today. I was gonna do 3 topics on this video to include information about parasites and then also kitten colds, because the day after she got diagnosed with ringworm, she got a cold and was sick for 4 or 5 days. And now we come to Boston's future. If you watched the first video, you'll know that I wasn't planning on keeping Boston. One, because I am really concerned about how it impacts Baxter because of all the problems I've had recently with him and idiopathic cystitis, but also he's very expensive, and the way I choose to care for my cats tends to be expensive. And so I decided for the first time that I wasn't going to keep a cat that I found, and I found a home for her, and I was going to drive a couple hours to bring this cat to this woman. And then she got diagnosed with the parasites, so she needed to be medicated for a while. So that pushed off the handoff. And then she got diagnosed with the ringworm, and it had to be held off even more. And then my vet told me about how long it's going to take to make sure that she's free of ringworm, which according to him is going to take us to about December. And at that point, she's not the kitten that somebody would have wanted. She will have imprinted on me, and well, in more ways than one, I guess. And this woman has 2 older cats and no ringworm in her house. And I guess now I have had ringworm in my house, so it's not as a big a deal because it's not like I'm gonna be introducing anything new. Whereas like ringworm can come back even after, it's been shown that they don't have it anymore. And so I made sure to let this woman know of the risks and let her know that I'd be fine with taking her and keeping her at this point because I am becoming a bit attached to her. She's making it difficult with all the biting, but, so I left it in the ball in her court. And she got back to me and said that she talked to her husband and they were okay with taking it, but they could also understand after spending all this money and time if I had decided that there was a better option for her. And she basically said what I've said and what multiple people have said, that it seems like the universe wants me to have this cat. The cat distribution system chose me, I guess. I was trying to be smart about it, and I was like, okay, so maybe the cat distribution system chooses people who will take really good care of a kitten and then hand it off to a better home, because obviously she needed a lot of care to begin with. And so I thought I was being smart with that interpretation of the cat distribution system. I'm starting to think that I was chosen and I don't have a choice. So Boston's future is next Friday. She goes in to get her first follow-up test for her ringworm. And if she tests negative, she gets to move into the house, into the kitten room that I have that was for my 2 kittens that had to be quarantined when I brought them home from Los Angeles. So she'll move into there. And then I'll see what goes on after that. But Boston's future is, she's now one of Frankie's felines. So I've got 5 again. Yeah, 5 cats. 5 cats. 5 cats. In any case, I hope you found all this informative. I've linked all my resources in my description and on my website. So if you want to dig into that stuff, you can go ahead and do that. I hope if you're dealing with this that you're not having a super difficult time with it. Just know that everybody gets scared. There are some subreddits if you're trying to find some support from other people who are going through the same thing as you are. Just know it's beatable and you'll get through this. Thank you for watching my video today. And as always, have a wonderful day. By the way, she should be no longer contagious, so I can touch her freely without protecting myself. What am I doing there, hey? It's gotta be that one. Hey, yeah, hey. No, I don't want to play that way. I don't want to play that way. I don't want to play that way. No. No. Hey. Go find one of your toys. Go find one of your 2 toys. Because she gave me ringworm. Now we're going to talk about how to prevent the fungus and to prevent the spread. Oh, you're purring, you're so cute. How to prevent the spread among all your other cats and possibly your children.